Hello everyone, if you're new here, I'm Josh Faulkner. I'm a stand-up comedian and for the last 15 years, a professional wrestler. And I'm also, very openly, a massive fan of the round system in British wrestling. This isn't going to be a rant, a nostalgia piece, or one of those everything was better in the old days videos. This is a genuine question. Does the round system still have a place in British wrestling today? And if it does, how do we actually use it without losing the audience? Quick thing before we start, if you enjoy thoughtful wrestling chat, British wrestling history, and opinions from someone who's actually worked in the ring, then like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let's get into it. Rounds were officially introduced into British professional wrestling in 1947 with the establishment of the Admiral Lord Mount Evans rules, and they made complete sense at the time. These rules were implemented to reform the industry and re-legitimise the sport in the eyes of the public and the press following a period of chaotic, violent, all-in wrestling that had become the norm before World War II. The reputation of the sport was poor, leading to bans of wrestling shows by local councils. But the rules introduced 5-minute rounds with 3 for title matches, 1-minute rest intervals, and also 2 out of 3 falls matches. This structure allowed for a more technical, athletic, and entertaining performance, rather than pure, unchecked violence. The introduction of rounds meant it wasn't chaos, it wasn't spectacle, it was controlled conflict, and for decades, that absolutely worked. But wrestling has changed. Audiences have changed. The modern British wrestling crowds are families with kids or people who mainly watch American wrestling on TV. And what they see on TV is continuous action, faster pacing, fewer pauses, and most of the time, very short bouts. So, if you put a youngster or a modern fan in front of a show that's all rounds and quite stop-start, they're not learning heritage, they're switching off. And that's not disrespect, that's reality. A full card of rounds matches is structurally exhausting. Every match feels the same. Stop, reset, build, and repeat. There's no contrast, no variety, and no rhythm change. And after seeing more than one rounds match, audiences don't think this is traditional, they think this is slow. There are still promotions that commit to the round system properly. One of the most notable is John Fremantle's Premier Promotions, based on the south coast of the UK. John puts on round matches as the backbone of his product, with tag matches often worked as 2 out of 3 falls instead. That's a consistent identity, and full transparency, I've been a part of that system and have worked on many shows for John over the last 15 years. In fact, I won the Premier Promotions Heavyweight Championship just before COVID, and I defended it twice. So this isn't theory for me, I've lived it, and I've seen how it plays out in front of real live crowds. Here's my honest position. The round system does still have a place in British wrestling, but not as the entire show, not as a default format, and not as the main identity. It works best as a feature, a contrast, a storytelling tool, and yes, a nod to heritage, just not as the whole show. So, how can shows use rounds properly? Let's say a show is 5 matches, 3 before the interval, 2 in the second half. The perfect place for a rounds match is match number 4. Straight after the interval, where the crowd has been to the bar, hit the merch table, and stretched their legs, they're coming back in cold. So a rounds match to start the second half lets you re-establish the pace, ease the audience back in, build tension gradually. Early rounds can be calm, later rounds can rise, the finish can land hard. By the end, the crowd's locked back in and ready for that main event. So, does the round system still have a place in British wrestling? Yes, absolutely, but only in moderation, only with intent, and only with proper pacing. British wrestling doesn't need to abandon its history, but it also doesn't need to be trapped inside it also. If you've enjoyed this, hit like, hit subscribe, and let me know in the comments. Are you pro rounds, anti rounds, or somewhere in the middle like me? I've been Josh Faulkner, and I'll be back with more British wrestling history and opinion very soon.